Just like any other young person, Emma was hunched over her laptop in the little spare bedroom she was renting, the one that smelled faintly of old takeout containers. She was staring at a spreadsheet that looked like a tax form exploded. She was working as a junior marketing assistant. Translation? She was answering emails for $10 an hour, plus some vague promise of a raise next year. She took a big gulp of her coffee. It was instant, the cheap stuff, because every single spare dollar was going towards rent and, well, that student loan payment that just loomed. She was in the middle of drafting an email about optimizing click-through rates, yawn, when her phone buzzed. It wasn't an email alert, it was TikTok. Now, Emma loved TikTok. It was her escape hatch. She'd usually scroll through funny dog videos to decompress after work. But this time, the algorithm had hit different. The screen popped up with this guy, let's call him Crypto Chad. He was wearing sunglasses indoors, sitting on a boat that definitely wasn't his, and screaming something about diamond hands and 100x gains. Yo, if you're still working a 9 to 5 in this economy, you're leaving money on the table. My portfolio just jumped 40% while you were making your boss a latte. Check the link in my bio for the next big play. Emma stopped typing. Her mouse hovered over the spreadsheet. 40%? That was more than she made in 2 months of steady work. She clicked the link. It didn't go to a boring financial advisor site. No, it led to a brightly colored Discord server that looked like a nightclub exploded. Thousands of kids, all hyped up, throwing around acronyms like they were secret handshakes, GME, AMC, Doge, $BBIG. It wasn't about slow, steady investing. It wasn't about saving for retirement when she was 60. This felt urgent. This felt like the cheat code for life right now. You can buy the dip, someone typed frantically. This is the launch pad, another responded. Emma felt this weird little flutter in her stomach. It wasn't anxiety about the spreadsheet anymore, it was excitement. Maybe a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. Everyone else seemed to be getting in on some secret party, and she was stuck here, optimizing click-through rates. She remembered seeing articles about people quitting their jobs because they made fortunes on these meme stocks. They were her age, laughing at the suits on Wall Street who didn't get it. She remembered her grandpa once telling her to buy a boring index fund and forget about it for 40 years. Emma sighed. 40 years? She wanted a decent apartment. Now. She wanted to stop checking her bank balance before ordering takeout. That night, instead of watching Netflix, she downloaded the slickest-looking trading app she could find. It had confetti explosions when you bought something, little green rockets, and the user interface was smoother than expensive chocolate. It didn't feel like investing. It felt like playing a video game where the prize was actual cash. She looked at her savings. About $1,500. Rent was due soon. She was supposed to put that towards the emergency buffer. But Crypto Chad had mentioned a stock, a small crypto coin called Moon Rocket, original, I know, that he swore was about to break out, because a famous celebrity might have tweeted about it. It's high risk, high reward, Emma rationalized to the empty room. I'm young. I can afford to lose this, right? If it moons, I don't have to work for a year. She put $500 in. The number on the app turned green immediately. It jumped 3% in 10 minutes. Holy cow, she whispered. It was like magic. She felt smart. She felt connected to something huge. For the first time since graduating, Emma felt like she was winning. The spreadsheet disappeared from her mind. She was officially in the game. The next few weeks were a blur of refreshing the app every 5 minutes. Emma started skipping her lunch break because she didn't want to miss a trade. She'd watch the price charts like they were soap operas, timing her breathing to the dips and spikes. The initial $500 turned into $750. Then, thanks to a surge in the broader crypto market fueled by hype, not actual utility, mind you, it briefly hit $1,100. Emma was riding high. She felt like she had cracked the code. She was smart, she was quick, and she was better than all those slow-moving people in the traditional markets. She even started posting vague, confident-sounding replies in the Discord. Holding strong, apes, she'd write, even though she barely knew what an ape meant in this context, other than someone who bought things based on blind faith. But the nature of these markets is that the peaks are followed by valleys that look like canyons. One Friday afternoon, Emma was getting ready to go out with friends for the first time in weeks. She was feeling flush enough to actually pay for her own drinks when she checked the app. Moonrocket was in freefall. It wasn't a small dip. It was a cliff dive. The screen was all red. Her $1,100 was down to $600 in an hour. Panic hit her like a physical blow. Her hand started shaking so badly she couldn't hold her phone steady. This wasn't Monopoly money anymore. This was the money she was supposed to use for that overdue dentist bill. The money for new tires. Sell! Sell now! She typed into the chat, frantic, but the gurus were fighting back. Don't panic, sell. Crypto Chad boomed in a voice note. This is FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They are trying to shake out the weak hands. Buy the dip. Double down. Emma looked at the numbers. She only had $600 left. If she sold, she took a $900 loss from her initial deposit. That was painful, humiliatingly painful. But if she didn't sell, and it went to zero, she felt trapped. She couldn't log off. If she did, she felt like she was abandoning the money to die alone. The gamification had worked perfectly. The losses felt worse than the wins felt good, driving her to keep betting just to try and get back to zero. She remembered her rent was due in 5 days. She had to pay it. In a moment of sheer desperation, fueled by the advice of strangers and the fear of missing her rent deadline, she grabbed $500 from the emergency savings. She had built up the money that was supposed to cover emergencies and dumped it all into Moonrocket, thinking this was the ultimate buy the dip. For about 45 minutes, it stabilized. Emma let out a shaky breath. Maybe the gurus were right. Then, the celebrity that was rumored to tweet about it issued a flat denial, basically calling the whole thing a pump and dump scheme. The collapse was swift and brutal. Within 3 hours, Emma's $500 was worth $87. $87. She sat back in her chair. The room was silent, except for the faint sound of the refrigerator humming. It wasn't just the money that hurt. It was the realization that she had been played. She wasn't a savvy investor. She was the exit liquidity for the guys who got in early. She felt incredibly stupid. She felt ashamed. Her stomach twisted with nausea. She had turned a stable, if boring, financial foundation into a mess over the promise of getting rich before her next birthday. She logged into the trading app one last time. She sold the remaining $87 for what felt like pocket lint and closed the account. She didn't even look at the confetti that popped up for the tiny cash out. It felt mocking. The next week was rough. Paying rent was terrifying. She had to call her parents the ultimate act of admitting failure and ask to borrow money to cover the shortfall, explaining vaguely that she had some unexpected costs. She hated the shame that came with it. She hated knowing that if she had just stuck to the boring spreadsheet, she wouldn't have been in this position. The pressure didn't just come from the debt. It came from the noise in her head. Every time she saw a headline about the stock market or heard a notification, she instantly braced for impact. She had trained her brain to associate finance with heart palpitations. She needed to reset. Emma deleted TikTok. She unsubscribed from every single finance subreddit and Discord channel that promised overnight success. She blocked the names of the finfluencers. It felt like breaking an addiction, which, in a way, it was. She opened a spreadsheet, but this time, it wasn't for optimizing ad copy. It was for tracking her actual life. She put the $87 from the crypto failure straight into her checking account, promising herself it would never be touched for speculation again. It was the cost of a very expensive, painful lesson in human psychology. She started looking at her job differently. That boring junior marketing role? It was reliable. It paid her bills on time. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable. Reliability wasn't glamorous, but it let you sleep at night. She decided to automate her savings. Instead of trying to time the market based on the advice of some kid on a boat, she set up an automatic transfer. Every paycheck, a small, fixed amount, went into a regular, boring, low-fee savings account. She wasn't trying to get rich by Friday. She was trying to get secure by next year. It was slow, painfully slow, compared to the instant highs of crypto trading. She'd see articles about meme stocks hitting new highs, and a little voice would whisper, "You missed it again." But now, Emma had an answer for that voice. Yeah, but I kept my apartment, and I'm not constantly panicking. She started reading books, actual, dusty books, about compound interest and long-term strategy. It was dry, but it felt solid, like building a foundation out of concrete instead of sand. Slowly, painfully, she paid back her parents. She started building that emergency fund back up, dollar by boring dollar. She learned that the real secret those finfluencers kept hidden was that they were selling you the dream so they could get rich off your transaction fees and your FOMO. They weren't sharing wealth, they were sharing risk. One evening, 6 months later, Emma was making coffee. She used the slightly better brand of instant coffee, a small victory. Her phone buzzed. It was a notification, but it was from her banking app. Direct deposit hit. She looked at her savings balance. It was smaller than the peak she hit during the moonrocket madness. But this time, it was hers. It was earned through steady effort and zero heart attacks. She took a sip of coffee, looked out the window, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: quiet confidence. The thrill of the gamble was gone, replaced by the quiet satisfaction of just doing the work, even the boring financial work. That, she realized, was the real superpower. The allure of getting rich quick through highly volatile investments is powerful, especially when fueled by online hype. But the true path to financial security is usually built on slow, boring, consistent habits, not gambling your savings on strangers' tips.